Kicking off our talks, we have the wonderful Dana Lawson, who is the CTO of Netlify. And of course, Netlify for many, many years have been building wonderful software for a world that is agentless. And now we have agents. So Dana's going to tell us how we adapt for that. So please welcome on stage, Dana Lawson. Have a great session.
Oh man, howdy y'all, good morning. I'm a little jet lagged and a little caffeinated, so hopefully I don't talk too darn fast, but I'll tell you what, coming into the city yesterday, I became an Arsenal fan. Y'all are crazy. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Somebody should have warned me, but y'all sure do know how to party, so I was down, but I didn't clown last night. I had to be serious for this. All right, so as you heard, I'm Dana Lawson, CTO of Netlify. Netlify is, as we all are, agentic web application platform. We help anybody build, deploy, and create experiences. And now in an agentic world, guess what? Anybody can do it. And so our world is changing so rapidly that this talk might be incy bits out of date, but maybe not. Depends on how far you are in your journey. So let's get going. So before we get into the architecture, I need to say something that might feel uncomfortable. How many of you here identify as a developer? Oh man, we ain't precious no more, y'all. The builder persona has changed. The person our platforms were built for are no longer just developers. We're still builders, don't get me wrong, but we're not the only ones. Now, with agents, anybody can participate. In fact, the IDC predicts that more than 500 million new applications will be built by 2028. And in fact, I create one a day, so I'm a part of that damn problem. More than the previous 40 years combined. Think about it for a minute. Now, 40 years have been compressed into 3, just like this room. That's not because the number of engineers is expanding. It's because agents have turned intent into a programming language. In fact, the strongest programming language that will happen now and into the future is, guess what? English. So I hope you go and study that in school, kids. If you're watching, you better learn how to talk to somebody. Claude, Code, Cursor, Volt, Level, Netlify, these tools let anyone with an idea create working software through conversations. No longer is it just developers, it's therapists, teachers, small business owners, students, people in line at the store building experiences on their phone, thank you, Lovable, and becoming software creators. At Netlify, we build for all of these builders. And here's the thing, when we designed our platform to work better for agents serving these new builders, it got better for developers too. And that's the AX paradox. So let me tell you a little story. Let me introduce you to my best friend, my homegirl, Toria. This is her. She is a licensed massage therapist. She is a vibrant drummer, a delightful, authentic, woo-woo Burning Man hippie. So I can't even believe she hangs out with an AI overlord, but she does, and she just radiates incredible energy. She has a dream. She came to me and she said, girl, I want to build an all-inclusive experience, not just a website. I ain't going on to Wix. I want to build an app for my Barbados massage retreat where I can build community and I can take payments and I can deliver content. These aren't just static website dreams. These are full-blown application dreams. She doesn't write the code. She really just writes intentions. And she decided she was going to build this website. So she went on to her favorite chat application, ChatGPT, and described her vision. And she started building. She prompted an agent to build the website, but every assumption we have baked in to the tooling turned out to be a human assumption. As we originally had built Netlify, it was for front-end developers. And now we realize with agents, we were lowering that gatekeeping and that barrier. First, it was about Git. She had no idea what Git was. I worked at GitHub. Some other GitHub people are here. I was like, man, you don't need to know what Git is. Trust me on this. But she was stuck. This is the reality for millions of new builders right now. Agents still speak fluent developer, but the humans they're serving don't. They don't know Git, they don't know Post, they don't know anything. First, she had no idea what she's doing. The tools assumed a level of technical literacy that most of the world just does not have. And this is the thing that really surprised us as Netlify as we were redesigning for agents. Fixing this for Toria also fixed it for our experienced developers that have to write with spec, intent, context, all the things that Guy said with the new software delivery lifecycle. Those are the things that we have to just make work out of the box because the new builder has no idea. When we made the agent's error message clearers, structured the build output for machine, and removed unnecessary friction, our developers also benefited from this. Every human assumption we removed made the platform better for everyone. This is the gap of what we call agent experience. So as I said, she called me. I was like, girl, you don't need to worry about Git. You don't got to worry about deploy. You just need to go prompt your vision into the world, and I got you. But this got me thinking about what this means. After years, I've been a software developer, builder, QA. I've done it all, man. I've been doing this since the 90s. Maybe decades of building guardrails to prevent humans from breaking production. We're now removing those guardrails and saying, hey, come play with us. Come create. Go build the next experiences for the world. Why? Because the interfaces have changed. The agent now handles Git. It handles deployment. It handles DNS. The builder focuses on the vision. And at Netlify, this is really what agent experience in practice looks like. Agents have full access to our platform primitives. They deploy, configure, iterate, so the human never touches anything. It's pretty scary, right? So under the hood, you're going to have all the things that you need to make it frictionless so that builders and this new breed of developers can get those ideas out. AX captures the humanity in this story. It removes that technical friction. So again, people like Toria or anybody else with a good idea that wants to change humanity for the better, they can now do it. But here's the key insight. Again, we didn't just make this as a separate dumbed-down platform. If you go onto Netlify, it is still as powerful as it was 10 years ago as it is today. But we had to think about how that intersection of developers and builders are coming together. So what did we do? We just built a better platform for everyone. The same structure signals that helped that agent deploy Toria's site also helped our engineers debug and build faster build systems, understand where we have errors under the hood, really help us create that magical experience. And so what we learned was designing for agents actually was designing for humans all along. And so this again brings me to my core thesis. You've all heard user experience. We heard in 2012, Jeremiah Lee from Spotify coined developer experience. And my boss, Matt Billman, last year said, you know what? The new paradigm is agent experience. UX and DX are collapsing into a single discipline. And here's why. Again, that builder persona is no longer you. The agents are doing the heavy lifting. So when you're thinking about how that end user interacts, it's also an agent. When you're thinking about how that developer goes and programs on your platform, it's not a developer, it's an agent. But on the other end is a human that just speaks plain English and expects it to just work. And again, agent experience isn't about making machines happy. It's about removing that friction every step of the way so that you can get from idea into reality in a few simple prompts. Now, I know that's, again, scary for all of us as software developers, but haven't we always just built so that we can explore, collaborate, and share our ideas? And some of us actually change humanity, I hope, for the better. Deploy, so structured errors and agents can parse, engineers can stand them faster too, and then deploy previews that give agents clear pass-fail signals. These all give us human clarity. And a lot of this stuff is obfuscated. We don't need the end user to think about it anymore. And now the end user is anybody. Because we are building a development platform, we have to just make it work. So, as you heard in Guy's talk, really agent experience is thinking about all that new system content and intent in the SDLC. It is the practice of designing where humans and agents collaborate seamlessly. And it isn't just about making API calls agent-friendly. You really do have to rethink the entire stack along the way, from how we express the intent to how systems communicate, and so that we can trust. So let's look at the landscape. You already heard a little bit from Guy of what's changing, and like I said, some of this is probably out of date as I open my mouth. In just 2 years, that's right, in only 2 years, we've seen an explosion of these AI-powered development tools or harnesses. I mean, call them what you will. I'm sure the name's going to change many, many times. I was sitting here thinking, man, Netlify is a harness on a harness on a harness. That's so damn meta. How many harnesses do you need? So I hope somebody comes out with the second hard human problem, which is Claude Code from Anthropic is an agentic CLI that writes tests, commits code. Cursor and Windsurf for AI native IDEs that pair program with you. V0, Netlify Bolt from StackBlitz, Lovable, all turn natural language into applications. GitHub Copilot now has agent modes that anonymously works on issues and submits PRs. The idea of a software factory, it's been instilled for years. This is not a new concept that we're determining here, but now with agents, we can actually go and implement those software factories to go and just run. All of these, again, share a common pattern. Intent as input. Working software as output, but there's the thing. They all need infrastructure that understands the patterns. The deploy targets, the CI pipelines, the edge networks, they all have to be designed for agents. And that's what we've been building at Netlify. So what actually is changing, again, you've heard it, it's gone from the SDLC, the big shift is we're moving from specs to intent. Specs still matter, and when you have large-scale technical platforms like myself, believe me, you're still using specs. But for your average user, because I hate to break it to you, the internet is just a bunch of apps and websites. It's not that hard. If you're at a tech company, it's hard. If you're an end user that's building an experience, not that hard anymore. Traditional development workflows typically would begin with a PRD that passes to a Jira ticket or a linear ticket, spec docs written for humans. AI native workflows begin with prompts, problem descriptions, sketches, and references. The input is the intent. I want a wellness retreat with booking, not a 50-page requirement doc. This is where we have to think about how can we take that intent and those ideas and turn them into reality by creating the software factories beneath them. And at Netlify, we've been dog fooding this. We have a tool called Agent Runners. An agent now, or a harness, takes the intent, generates the code, the output moves immediately into real engineering workflows. Preview deploys, automated tests, production pipelines. What used to take millions of minutes now takes seconds, which is pretty darn incredible. And so the second shift that we're seeing in the software development lifecycle with the rise of agentic coding and the builder persona becoming the every person is we're moving from those sequential handoffs to shared creation pipelines. Now, for Netlify, yes, we have a sophisticated software development team, and all people do participate. And historically, it was that relay race that we all knew. PMs writing the specs, hands to design, design creates the mock-ups, hands it to engineering, engineering builds it. If you have QA, probably not, it's just a bot. It validates it, and then it hands it to the DevOps for deployment because nobody trusts anybody to go and hit that button. But let me tell you, that takes weeks. And some crazy billionaire bald tech overlord said, there ain't no doors you can't walk through, you can't walk the other way back through. So having that mindset of shipping rapidly is now more so a reality than ever before. So now, instead of having these handoffs, it's collaborative. Product teams are generating working prototypes with agents. Designers are redefining the experience directly in code. They're not participating outside the lifecycle. Engineers are now spending their time validating the architecture and, again, spending time writing those precious guardrails that didn't exist the way they need to exist now, whether it's context, specs, recipes, etc. We'll call it skills for ease of use as well. Agents handled the testing and deployment, and now everybody participates. The cycle time compresses, again, from weeks to hours. Third, what was the other change that this is the software factory layer that you heard in the previous talk. Third, we moved from passive CI pipelines to autonomous development loops. That is one thing that Netlify always brought to developers was like, hey, you don't have to go and create your own CI/CD. You can come to Netlify, we'll set it up, and we'll get it configured for you. But that has gone even crazier now with autonomous development loops. Agents don't just write the code, they're participating in the entire infrastructure lifecycle. They're generating the tests, detecting failing previews, analyzing build logs, proposing fixes, open PRs. CI/CD just becomes a continuous feedback loop. And some of you may not be at that level of sophistication, but this is where you need to start thinking about how you're reinventing those needs. And at Netlify, our deploy, preview, and build infrastructure, again, like I said, already provides the observability signals agent needs. When a build fails, an agent can read the logs, because we went and update them, diagnose the root cause, and submit a fix, all without a human in the loop. And this isn't some future. This is happening every day. And this will happen in your workforces as well. There will be a demand that comes in and says, there's your common paths, turn it into a software factory, make it go. Our agent runners are Protected. We give agents sandbox environments with full platform access. They deploy, configure, iterate without humans. Deploy briefs from agents mean every change gets a unique URL, preview URL. This is where we bring the human back into it. The human gets to visually look at the output and continue to iterate. Because when you're flowing and vibing, if you vibe code, you know all it is about that preview, preview, preview. And here's a specific example of a redesigned surface. As I mentioned, our build logs used to be human-readable narratives. Great for scanning, great for DevOps, great for me debugging. Terrible, terrible for agents. It had no idea what we're talking about. It wasn't leet speak, it was log speak, which is even worse. We restructured them into emit structure, machine-readable error codes alongside that human text. An agent can now parse a build failure, identify a missing dependency, and fix it automatically. But again, here's the thing. That same structured output made our dashboard clearer for human engineers too, because we took it and really put emphasis on how an agent would utilize our logs to make decisions. That also meant that our developers could debug quicker if the agent didn't know what was going on. Because I don't know about y'all, but I still don't trust agents 100%, especially not my ClawBot. It kind of hates me. Error categorization at a glance, failure reasons, and what we learned again was this part of the agent experience really did improve the human experience. It made us quicker to debug any of those problems because we were thinking about how an agent would read it too. But I'm sure most of y'all live in the world that I live in. If only we had greenfield technology and architecture that was simple, this would not be a problem at all. In fact, you would probably be building the next 500,000 tech startups because you can do that. But the problem that most of us face is we're introducing agents into fragmented systems that have been existing. Even if you're building net new, I implore you to think about your agent experience before you start hands on keyboard. A lot of these systems are collections of APIs, microservices, CI pipelines that, again, were designed for human operators. There was an intent that a human would be a part of that loop, even if stuff was sent to work continuously. Agents struggled with this. They can't see across service boundaries. Every API speaks a different dialect. Critical workflows live in tribal knowledge and in someone's head. In a Slack thread from 2022, in an undocumented Terraform module, when agents can't observe the system, they can't act intelligently. No longer can you rely on tribal knowledge or the person that's down the hall on Slack to be like, yo, what did this do? I have no idea. You're expected to make it work for your agents because your agents should just work. This is the fundamental change. We just can't bolt agents into existing legacy architectures. The architecture itself must evolve. The first architectural shift is from APIs to capabilities. Traditional systems expose REST endpoints. Post to this URL, put to that one, get this resource. An agent looking at a 200 endpoint API surface has to figure out the right context, the right sequence, the right parameters in the right order. And I know we're making jokes about context windows. Believe me, you will run out of time if you don't specify what agents are supposed to do in your systems. Agent-native systems expose these intent-level operations. Create a site. Look, again, plain English. Deploy a repository. Provision edge compute. These are capability agents can reason about. They express what you want to accomplish, not the mechanical steps to get there. And at Netlify, again, we've evolved our API service to support both modes, traditional REST for existing integrations and capability-based interfaces for agent interactions. This also extended to our CLI. When you use a CLI, commonly you have a developer that has to hit yes, no, next, parameter. That does not work when you have an agent. So we had to go rethink about how our CLI will be utilized. The second shift is from request response, oh man, I gotta go faster, to event-driven architecture. Traditional APIs are pull-based. You send a request, you get a response. Agents have to pull, guest, retry. AI native systems expose events. Again, deploy started, PR created, agents subscribe to these events and act autonomously. So if you're still doing stuff asynchronously, you need to think about updating your systems to event-based. I know we all love Kafka, and so you can use any kind of streaming that you love, but that's just one way to get there. This was already how we built the Netlify build system. Every deploy emits events, and so now the structured logs and infrastructure was designed for observability. The agents are the ones observing versus the humans. The third shift, and probably the most important, is making architecture legible to agents. Again, a lot of these distributed systems run on tribal knowledge. Somebody that knows this service may not know service B. Agents don't have that knowledge. This is why we created our system of record called Blueprints. Yes, this is skills, context, and recipes. Think of it as the Claude Markdown files, the agents MD, the architecture decision records, all designed so coding agents understand the system before they make the changes. The goal isn't better documentation, it's ensuring agents can operate safely in complex systems. Putting it all together, we have moved from static tool change to agent-orchestrated systems. The development cycle becomes a continuous human agent loop. So no longer is it a handoff, it is everybody participating at the same time. And the human stays in the loop by providing judgment, taste, direction. But the loop moves at machine speed. This isn't replacing engineers, it's amplifying everybody's ability to be a builder. Now, with all this power, you heard it earlier, comes with serious responsibility where agents can deploy code, provision infrastructure, and modify production systems. Trust has to be default and is not optional. We have 3 principles we follow at Netlify. First, sandbox execution. Agents can't escape their sandbox and access resources they're not granted. Second, human in the loop by default. I know you say, like, you heard me say software factory, you don't need one, but guess what? I still don't trust stuff 100%, but we want to make the human in the loop the meaningful part of the job. The agent builds, the human approves. And third, audit and rollback. Every agent action is logged. This is where events become so incredibly important, knowing the changes in the system, because today a lot of code is not being stored in Git, which is absolutely bonkers. But we still have to have a system of record to roll it back. Trust is built on this transparency. If you can't explain what the agent did, why would you trust it in production? The organizational impact is profound. When agents lower the barrier to building, now the entire company participates. Everybody's making prototypes. We're testing hypotheses, coming up with ideas. Support's creating internal tools, custom solutions for customers. No longer are you bound by the engineering software development lifecycle. You now have the ability to go let everybody get out of your hair and just go write and build their own code. As a DevOps professional, this has been my dream for over 20 years, is build it yourself. Let me work on the hard problems. And now, that's what we get to do. Engineering evolves into from implementing every feature to really ensuring that the systems have the guardrails, the architecture is tight and solid, the skills, recipe, and context just work. This is where AX is critical. It's a discipline that ensures that democratization happens safely. Because I don't know about you, I still believe in an open web. So let me summarize the takeaways. And I want you to take this home. First, I hate to break it to you, we ain't precious no more. The builder persona has expanded. Your platforms don't just serve professional developers anymore. Agents are enabling therapists, teachers, students, and anybody that has a dream to build and design, so design for them. Second, legacy systems must evolve. APIs need to become capabilities that agents can reason about. Again, intent-level operations. Third, safety and trust are foundational. Sandboxing, human-in-the-loop reviews, full audit trails. These aren't nice-to-haves. When agents can deploy to productions, they are have-to-haves. And fourth, this is what you can start shipping, well, tomorrow. Go fix your structured errors, go create event-driven signals, and legible architecture. There's an experts bar I heard. Go sign up now. If you haven't done it before, go learn how to write your dang skills because your job depends on it. Wish I didn't have to say that, but I do. So our biggest takeaway here is designing for agents didn't just make our systems better, it made it better for humans. And that was really the surprise of it all. This wasn't a trade-off for a developer experience or the user experience. It was a multiplier. And so why does all this matter? Because as Matt Billman says, when anybody can generate software, code is no longer this scarce resource. For decades, the bottleneck has been writing code, finding engineers, shipping features. The bottleneck is dissolving. Now, the scarce source becomes taste. Know what's worth building, judgment, knowing when to ship, and architecture, designing systems at scale. And this is where we come full circle. AX didn't just help agents work with our platform, it forced us to clarify our architecture, our structure, and our signals. It, in fact, made us all better developers. So the judgment to build systems agents can work with, that is the engineering skill of the future. An agent experience ensures agents amplify human creativity rather than replacing it. And so this brings us back to Toria. After hitting the wall of Git and a million problems, she didn't give up. With an ecosystem designed for agents, designed for her, she bypassed all of those roadblocks. She was able to drag and drop her intentions into Netlify, and it just worked. No Git, no CLI, no deployment configurations, no worries, trust by default. The agent handled all of it. She called me that day, and I remember it, and I'll censor it since this is streamed. She called me and she said, "Girl, I am a developer." And I was like, oh man, but she's right. That's the most incredible part. I didn't build this site, she did. Here's her vision. I hope you all go to the Barbados with us. Here's her vision live for the world to see. This is AX in action. We designed for agents, and doing so, we made building possible for a massage therapist in Barbados who writes intentions and not code. That's not just agent experience, that's actually human experience. And that's what agent experience is for. Thank you for your time, and if you want to participate, we have some resources available. Turns out, redesigning for everyone is the agent experience, not designing for agents, so don't get stuck in the trap. Remember who you serve. And if you want to learn more, you can visit netlify.com/AX. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dana, for a wonderful session. We have 4 minutes for questions. So if you have questions, please do raise your hand and someone will run at you with a mic. Any questions for Dana at all?
They're blown away. It's cool.
They're blown away, yeah. One question at the front.
You said 500,000 apps could be built, or we're going to build so much ever. When do we're learning these contexts now, when do we talk about what not to build? And how do you stop like the environmental impacts, the impact on complexity of code, et cetera?
I think that's the challenge that we have right now. Is the bitter truth is you're going to be stuck building a whole bunch of stuff that's going to be obsolete probably in months, not years. And so finding the right paths and putting intent in the right areas is what's going to be the keeper. I mean, hopefully, we all continue to think environmentally and conscious about the world, because building AI for not anybody on the planet, what's the point? But there is a bunch of slop right now, and a bunch of these applications are going to be a drain on our resources. But this is where development and engineering practices are core to this. Because now anybody in the world can build, and literally anybody can, we have to burden that responsibility on our shoulders to make sure that we are implementing compaction, that we are thinking about compression, that we are building the right resources to make the internet continue to be open and democratized for everybody, but also being environmentally friendly. And those are the things that these builders won't understand. So when I talk to people and say, oh, you're getting in development, I'd be like, well, I don't know if I'd be like a builder. I would probably focus on the internals and take that background in computer science and really apply that, because there's still a lot that we can do as developers, but that shift is changing. For some of these experiences that we all have, anybody can do them now. And so not getting stuck in that trap is incredibly important.
We have one just to the right at the...
Test. Oh yeah, we got a question over here.
Hi, it was a really insightful talk. Thank you for that. I wanted to ask about accountability. So how is your company approaching accountability, where if you're creating useful abstractions and people building it don't understand what's below the abstraction, where does accountability sit in that? Are you planning to flip the accountability and say, we will give you exposure to what's underneath if you have an IT team? If not, we will take the accountability. How are you thinking about that?
I mean, it's a push and pull. I mean, again, it's like, what do I want to build right now that's going to be commoditized? There used to be a lot of systems that were super simple, or were super complex to use, that now you just plug and play. And I think we're in a world where nothing is really set on what will be developed next. And so, again, it's finding the right balance. In two parts, a lot of our users at Netlify come in and want to build websites and applications. So we are going to put all the accountability and context and the trust in the system. So under the hood, where you saw in Guy's talk, that's all Netlify. We do every bit of that. Build, deploy, QA, et cetera. But in large-scale organizations, because Netlify is still built for developers, we still have this context of a control plane. We're working on things like policy engines, control panels, really for whether it's the CISO or production R&D, whoever's doing the guardrails, be able to have that control panel. But a lot of it, what we're building, is obfuscated, because what we found is, again, the internet is just a collection of apps and websites. They're not that complex. I hate to break it to you. It's usually some JavaScript and maybe a database, and not a lot of serverless functions in between. People don't describe building like that anymore. They say, build me a website that can be shown in Portugal. That's a serverless function that's doing locality. They're not going to go in there and write that function. I'm going to do that for them. They're just going to come and tell me I want this in Portugal. And so we are trying to balance where a developer needs to put their attention and where they don't. And so really utilizing what's important to that system. And more of it is governance, policy, and identity. That's what a lot of large-scale enterprises and professional systems care about as far as accountability. And more of the hobbyists or solopreneurs, they just want it to work. They don't care.
Awesome. We actually don't have any more time for extra questions, but please do grab Dana in the hallway track. Once again, thanks very much, Dana.